Ready when you are.
Hi, my name is Louise.
And hi, I'm Emma.
And you're listening to Murder or Myth,
the true crime podcast where not everything is true.
The aim of the game is to find out whether the story is actually a murder or if it's just a myth.
Now, let's get started. Hi, Louise.
Hi, Emma, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, we're 10 away from a year of weekly podcast episode releases.
Yeah, that's insane.
Pretty proud of that.
We're on a countdown now.
Yeah.
Have to do something special.
For sure we will.
Okay, so are you ready to hear my story this week?
Sure am.
Right, let's get into it.
Let's.
So, Chrissy Tracy was the owner of 2 farms in Derryhiney and Kiltermore, County Galway, alongside her brothers.
An Irish story.
An Irish story.
We haven't had an Irish story in a while.
No.
Thankfully, I guess.
Yeah. We don't want them to hit too close to home.
Nope.
So after her brother's death, her nephew Michael Scott came to inherit half of Derryhiney land, that farm, and she rented both full farms to him to use and work on.
Did you say when this story is taking place?
I didn't yet, no.
Do I just need to have patience, or...?
Yeah.
Okay.
As per. You just need to let the story evolve.
Okay, great.
So she rented both farms for him to work on and use. She lived alone and had the companionship of an overweight Jack Russell named Bradley. On the 27th of April, 2017, Michael rang a neighbour to tell him he had hit his aunt with a teleporter in the yard.
His aunt?
Michael is her nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's his aunt. Francis, the neighbour, immediately arrived at the scene and asked Michael had he rang for an ambulance. Michael had said no, as he didn't know you could get an ambulance from calling 999. Chrissy sustained many crush injuries from the hit and died shortly thereafter. Her friend, Regina O'Donoghue, was next on the scene and had to be restrained from attacking Michael. Many in the local community had information that Chrissy was formally requesting portioning of the land and wanted to be legally separated from her nephew in terms of the farmlands they co-owned. So local stories heard how the relationship between the two had deteriorated, and Scott was speculated to have made Bradley the dog disappear. A court case began with the prosecution calling for a murder charge be placed on Michael. A jury for the trial consisted of 6 men and 6 women. The local knowledge of the bad blood between Chrissy and Michael was not submitted in court due to it being categorised as hearsay. The defence argued that no matter how unkind Michael was, it does not make him a murderer. Regina was called to the stand as a witness, and after she gave her testimony, she left the stand and walked past Mr. Scott, who was sitting at the defence table.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say?
Ideally no.
Okay. So she walked past Mr. Scott and called her a profanity, which she reported, and it was made known to the court in the next trial date. Mr. Scott was heavily reprimanded by the judge as to not intimidate witnesses, and he had his bail threatened. However, he got it in the end. Back to the court case. The court heard that the vehicle had no left mirror and a dirty back window. So after 15 hours of deliberation, the jury rejected the murder charge and settled on gross negligence on Mr. Scott's behalf, and sentenced him to 6 years in prison on manslaughter. He said to the newspapers afterwards that he expected to be home shortly, saying, "Sure, you can't be going to jail for negligence." He is currently in jail and will be for another 4 years. And that's the end of my story.
Which county did you say this took place in?
Galway.
Galway. Okay. The story I'm very much stumped on. Haven't heard of it before.
Okay.
The fact that it took place in Galway.
Not too far away.
Yeah, not sure if I would have heard of it or not. Okay, my thoughts. Overweight Jack Russell, interesting detail for you to add if it was a myth.
Mm-hmm.
A bit random.
Right.
Didn't know you could get an ambulance from 999. Makes me think it's a murder, because I feel like that's just a detail that if you were writing a myth would think the other person, like if you were writing a myth and the other person thought it was a myth, that would kind of throw them over the edge, because it's like, how do you not know that?
True. Conveniently.
Haven't heard of the story, makes me maybe think it's a myth, but not necessarily. Details of 6 men and 6 women on the jury then also brought me back to a myth. I'm not sure why. I guess it's just
Like aggressively detailed.
Aggressively detailed, yeah, in maybe a descriptive way that you wouldn't necessarily always read in a news article, but I guess sometimes you would.
Yeah.
And then the detail of the profanity and the fact that you had a specific profanity and asked me if you could use it.
Well, like, yeah, but like in
makes
general,
me think
profanity.
it's a murder because there's a specific profanity in mind.
Yeah, well, I guess I would have had to ask any profanity.
Yeah, well, we have crushed on this before,
so.
but that's kind of
True.
a bad one.
Shouldn't have asked.
So now I need to add these up, so okay, and just see which one there's more of, I guess.
I love how much like investigative writing down and like note taking you do. I think for me it's always hit or miss. It's a gamble. Calculated.
And overweight Jack Russell. I said what did I say that made me think? Did I say myth or murder? Because currently I'm at myth and murder. I said overweight Jack Russell made me think it was a myth or murder.
I don't know.
I think murder because it's just a random detail, an odd detail to think of. So then that's more towards murder. Fuck it, I guess I go with it. I think it's
heart?
murder.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a murder.
It's not about my heart. It's about 3 out of 5.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah, no, I did know you said Jack Russell was a murder. And I was like, no, you said myth. But yeah. Yeah, it's a murder. I was like, she definitely heard of this on the news.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's specific, but also it's like...
I'm not a great news listener, though, so that also threw me off.
Yeah. You don't hear many people getting run over by, like, farm machinery. I reckon he done it on purpose.
Yeah.
Basically, like, there was a load of Jesus, I can't
bad blood.
say that word.
The way that it ended where he said you probably shouldn't go to jail for negligence does sound kind of like I should have said that as well. Yeah, the quote also made me think.
He seemed fairly cocky, like, to the tabloids afterwards.
Yeah.
And like intimidating the witnesses, and apparently it was well known in the area that they would, like, she was serving him like legal papers.
Okay.
To be like, let's legally, this is mine and this
Let's
is yours. And she
out.
had more than he had. And then apparently it was like, I read somewhere he was due to get that letter the day it happened. But like, I don't think he would have known that, like, you know, post and stuff. But yeah, and the dog went missing recently and everyone thought he either killed it or just, I don't know, drop it off somewhere else.
Was trying to mess with her, kind of.
Yeah, he reckons he just said he didn't see her in the yard, but that's that. So I don't know, he's still in jail. Not for long though. And he'll probably get the farm.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
No.
Yeah, I think that's the end of the story, unless you have any other...
That's it, no. Those are kind of my comments, my...
Well prepared.
Points made, yeah, I'm glad I wrote them down.
It's like you're in a debate. It was like, let me come back with my counter arguments.
Yeah, it kind of is. I'm just trying to, like, almost, like, debunk your... debunk your thought process.
I'm gonna have to start, like... tuning into that, like, how can I debunk?
But sometimes it's really hard because as I'm writing, I'm like, missed a key detail there, but don't want to ask her to go back. So I'm like, sometimes you'll just be writing something and then you'll kind of, like, you're focused on writing the last thought,
Right, reading it. Okay.
So sometimes I try not to write, I guess, too much. It's just to remember for thoughts afterwards.
I'm going to start using your myths as my inspiration for any further story.
What will that do? Oh.
Like, because I can't
debunk myself.
Yeah. Like, this is too good.
Right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe.
On this week's episode, Louise correctly guessed my story was in fact a murder.
Find us on all streaming platforms.
Join us next week for another thrilling adventure.
Remember, it's myth until proven murder.
Slay. 10 minutes, not too bad.
No, that's pretty solid.